Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod.
All right. And we start the podcast off, the Flagstick Podcast, with myself, Jeff Potter, and Scott McLeod. We started off with a giggle. And a
Why not? Why not?
A little giggle and a
Lots to giggle about.
It is. It's certain. There certainly is. I mean, we were saying really quickly. Sorry. Flagstick Podcast this week sponsored by TaylorMade Golf, introducing the all-new QI35 drivers, TaylorMade speed, max forgiveness, and a new level of fitting to give you more distance from the face. Get QI35 fit today and unlock another level for your game. You're following us on social media. We know it. Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts, and hit up the YouTube channel. We do encourage you to do that. Like us and click the notification bell. Make sure that you never miss a single episode like this one, and all the other great things we put on the YouTube channel. Just quickly again, Father's Day, big weekend, Father's Day, U.S. Open. We're going to recap all that. The big JJ Spaun surge to victory. We look ahead at the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. And we'll also chat about the ins and outs of golf footwear.
There you go.
So that's what we're going to do this week on the podcast. Let's just get talking. So let's get to the front nine presented by Metcalf Golf, a natural setting, pleasant challenge. It's early in the season. Course is in great shape. Book and pay online, save 10% on a popular game passes are always available, 10, 20, and 30s. Plus, check out the event series for some fun golf tournaments. Lessons are always available with the pro Nick Search. And enjoy the great food at Hickory's Restaurant. Visit metcalfgolf.com for all that. Okay, we do have some front nine things we want to get to, but let's get talking a little bit here.
Where are we starting?
Oh my gosh! I mean, I know we got some stuff to get through here, the local stuff, but
why don't we? Yeah, let's get rid of that, and then
let's burn through that, and then we can we can put the throttle wide open, the choke, and go.
Yeah, there you
go. Okay, World Long Drive Endless Summer was held down at Trillium Wood in Belleville. We had our good buddy. We had a good buddy on the show. The interview, Jody Jenkins, last week's show, talking about Endless Summers and everything that he has built there, with a lot of help, I'm sure, but it's his baby. Yeah. But it went off, and it was good.
Yeah, had over 1,500 fans. We got a full wrap up on flagstick.com, but we'll give you the highlights.
The highlights are.
Yeah, Brandon Flynn won the military division. Kelly Rudney won the women's division at 347 yards. And Jack Smith smashed one 421 yards to win the men's division. So pretty impressive.
421.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's just a little trap wedge for me, but whatever.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But if I competed and I had to use I'd have to use my 3-wood. Just
to what? Hit it twice?
No, because I mean the grid only goes so far. I don't think it's like tractor pulling where you get a full pull, right?
Right, exactly.
Right? Hit it at the back of the grid. They don't just give me the trophy. You got to measure that. So I got to at least hit something that's going to stay in the grid.
Never did I ever thought I'd hear tractor pull, full pull on the Flagstick podcast, nor come in at the 130th podcast. So I didn't predict that. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that.
Or did you think tractor pull would be a reasonable reference to long drive competitions?
No, not one bit. So
there you go.
Not one bit.
There's another never did I ever.
All right.
Never did I ever think I'd ever hear Jeff talk about hitting it long.
True, valid.
Accurate, maybe. Long, not so much. Okay, as Scott said, we got a full wrap up of the event on flagstick.com as expected. OVGA Junior City and District results: Highlands and Kingsway Park hosted on the June weekend, 14th and 15th this past weekend. Gosh, like They had overall boys, U17 boys, Aiden Reel of Camelot.
Yep.
Overall girls, U19 girls, Avery Nordman of Canadian, fresh off the win at the Ontario Women's Match Play, I might add. She
Hmm.
won by 9 with rounds of 72 and 69. That's all right.
She's playing some golf. She
She's
is
playing
really
some
playing
good
some
golf.
golf these days. Yep.
U17 girls, Amelia McFarlane of the Hunt Club, and U19 boys, Sammy Tahar of Royal Ottawa.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Well
There you
played.
go.
Well
Yeah.
played.
And again, more details, more wrap up that on flagstick.com. Thanks to Jimmy Davidson from OVGA.
Big
Sent some
Jim.
stuff over.
Big
Yep.
Jim. Guy's everywhere, man.
He is
I
everywhere.
was just
So
talking to him. I got some stuff to drop off for him for the junior sectionals, and I'm like, "When can we meet up?" He's like, "Oh my God!" He said, "When can we meet up? When am I coming up
yeah.
for air?"
Yeah.
And then we decided to
That's
meet
this
up.
time of year, man.
I know, and
That's
he
the
is go
golf
go go
business.
go go. Probably the hardest
Yeah.
working OVGA person I know right now.
Yeah.
Maybe a close run with Jerry Bauer too, and
Maybe.
some of those rulies. They're all over the map too.
They are.
Big announcement locally. Big announcement that the
Yep.
PGA Tour Americas Commissioners Ottawa Open will continue under a
Hmm.
new 3-year agreement. The original 3-year agreement has now been extended under a new 3-year agreement from 26 to 28 and will be relocated from the Eagle Creek Golf Course where it's played now to the Marshes Golf Club in the heart of Kanata.
Do you find this kind of funny that this is like 20 years later where that sort of shift that could have possibly happened back in the day when the Canadian Tour was at Eagle Creek and there were some agreements and stuff going on,
Yeah.
and there was some discussion that the Marshes would host, and Sir Terry Matthews was at this
Mm-hmm.
announcement on Monday. But it's kind of funny. It's like here we are 2 decades later talking about what is the evolution of the Canadian Tour, and then it's finally getting to the Marshes. So
Yeah,
that's
I think
wild.
and realistically, I mean, Eagle Creek is an outstanding venue. It's an
Yeah, for
outstanding
sure.
golf course. But when you talk about running tour events or professional golf events or any golf tournament for that matter,
Yeah.
especially one that they're trying to grow, as far as sponsorships corporately,
Hmm.
get fans to come out. When you talk about logistics of hosting a tournament, the Marshes just makes a whole lot of sense
Oh, especially
given
with
where
Brook Street there, and yeah, closer to the population, and
lots of
just
restaurants around. There's other,
yeah.
Brook Street's the main one on site. And then there's lots of other hotels around there too that will be able
Hmm.
to, people coming into town will be able to stay at. There's lots to do in the
Hmm.
Canada area as far as shopping and
Yeah.
eating and so on. So logistically just makes, and getting there. If you're
Hmm.
just driving in,
Yeah.
Eagle Creek
Eh,
is great, but Eagle Creek is a fair
it's still
distance
haven't done
outside,
Robin. Yeah.
and now parking at the Marshes, I'm not sure what they're going to do there because
Well,
there's not a lot of
yeah,
open
and here's the
space.
thing: we know PGA Tour of America. I'm sure they've got a plan relative to it, and I'm sure we'll chat with the gang there and find out what's going on. My other thing I kind of wonder about is that from a control perspective, when there's been events there, World Junior Girls and stuff, which weren't ticket buying experiences. You're talking about a golf course that's in the middle of a kind of a corporate environment there with a lot of ins and outs. It's hard to stop people from getting on the property as far as controlling it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not like there's
yeah,
ropes or a natural barrier. Most golf courses, you have to go past the clubhouse and away you go or whatever. But the Marshes is sort of open that way. But I'm sure they have some sort of plan relative to that. So I guess we'll find out. But
yeah, for
anyways,
sure. But as far as this year goes,
sure, they're
we
at the
got we
Eagle.
got another one at Eagle Creek,
Yep.
and then we'll deal with the Marshes next year.
Yeah.
But big announcement there. Okay,
Yep. All right.
okay. You're now up to speed. Now
Sort
sit
of.
back. Sit back and
Did
listen.
you watch some U.S. Open, Jeff?
Oh my gosh.
Sounds like you did.
Look it. Here's the thing. I'm just going to give you sort of my take on the US Open in general. And
Yep.
then obviously we can get into some discussions, which I
Sure.
know you and I are not going to agree on.
Hmm.
Some things, different perspectives, different thoughts on responsibilities and things like that. But generally speaking, didn't like the fact that it rained as much as it did.
Yeah.
I kind of hoped that that wouldn't happen. I kind of
Yeah.
hoped we'd get more of Friday. So
Sure.
Thursday comes out kind of, and it, they got a little bit of rain. It on the course was,
Playing a
I
little
want to say
softer.
benign. It was a little. It was
No, it
just.
was not benign. That's for sure.
It was
Softer.
softer. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a little, but still, it was tough. Like,
Oh yeah.
forget about what JJ Spaun did on Thursday
Mm-hmm.
was nothing
66.
short of fantastic. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
to go bogey free 66 like that on that golf course is just really good golf, and that happens even if the most difficult U.S. Opens ever.
Oh
There's
yeah. There's
always
usually
somebody. Look
somebody.
at what Johnny Miller did,
Mhm.
when he won. To shoot that kind of a number. Didn't know he
Mhm.
didn't have his yardage book, by the way. That was
He
interesting.
eventually had it. Eventually had it.
Um, so it happens, but the rest of the field was doing what you would expect the rest of the field to do at a U.S. Open. They were, grinding out, just trying to get through it. And then
Surviving.
Friday is when, I really felt that the golf course had its
Yeah.
teeth.
Yeah, it started to
Um,
get a little spicy, a little bit
yeah,
firmer. You
very
started to see
spicy.
some different things. And going back to what we talked about last week and sort of how players looked a little bit mortal. I think that was the interesting part. Watching Thomas Dietrich just miss a par three by like a foot. And then next thing you know, his little shot that he's got, he goes to chip it and it goes a foot. And that one, then he tries to blade it from there. And next thing, he makes a five and he goes for and so it's like the golf course was showing. And again, it was as we talked about, it was testing skills that we don't always see week to week on tour. And
Mhm.
as a result of it, we definitely saw some mayhem. And you're right, it was starting to spice up and get some bounces and get some interesting things. Balls running away from players on the greens, getting very difficult as far as the putts are concerned. Watching players, have 8-foot putts and lay them up, basically. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's a whole different set of skills than you'd see week to week.
So of course, then the rain comes, and that
Mhm.
adds a whole different element. Now, the initial thought when it comes to the rain is the rain's going to soften up the fairways, so they're not going to
Mm.
miss as many fairways. The rain's going to soften up the greens, so they're going to be able to attack pins. The problem is with Oakmont or any golf course, any U.S. Open course, or any golf course for that matter, when you do miss the fairway
Yeah.
and it's raining, then that creates a different set of problems when you're trying to hit the ball. You get
Yep.
water between the club face and the ball, and that
Mhm.
does funky things.
Yeah.
It
Mayhem.
makes it harder to hit it out of the rough under normal rough conditions. But when you're talking about 5.5 inch rough at the U.S. Open
Mm.
and it gets sitting down in wet grass, well, wet grass becomes heavier.
Oh yeah, for
The
sure.
club does not go through it the same. So missing by in the rough now becomes amplified over what
Mhm.
was before. So yeah, if you hit it in the fairway, you've got a few issues to deal with wet fairways and controlling your ball flight, things like that. But you can control it better out of the fairway, and you hit it in the rough. Now
Oh
it was
yeah.
already tough enough as it was to get out of the rough.
Mhm.
Now it's even tougher, and that proved to be
Yeah.
costly for a lot of guys
Yeah.
come the weekend, especially when the heaviest stuff came while they were playing on Sunday.
Yeah. You,
That
you saw
said,
you saw players pitch out and have to get up and down a lot of times. And,
yeah,
and that's what it really stressed their games more than anything. It was like, okay, you're in that trouble, you got to get out. And some of the pitch outs were not great either. I
no,
mean, left them in the grass, shot across the fairway. It was just that randomness that I guess some people love, some people hate, but it was made it for entertaining viewing for sure.
well, I guess that's the thing. So when you're talking about this sort of love-hate thing,
Yeah.
um, week to week we watch PGA Tour events where you know the players hit it in the rough, and it really doesn't seem to phase them a whole lot.
No.
These guys are the best players in the world.
Hmm.
Hitting the ball in the rough under normal tour course conditions is not normally that big of a deal, unless they
No.
just get unlucky, get a
Yeah.
really ugly lie in the
Really
rough
bored.
somewhere.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, a ball in the rough is not a problem
No.
when it's a U.S. Open, and this is the thing that differentiates the U.S. Open from every other tournament that they play every year. We have the Open Championship, which obviously is kind of like you get what you get kind of deal. It's a little less prepared. Some of the golf courses are a little less prepared for it. They just kind of, if it's really crappy weather, then all of the stuff comes into play, and if it's not, you get Carnoustie when Jean Van de Velde played, and then you get Carnoustie the last time we watched Carnoustie, where it was like, okay, this is supposed to be the carnage at Carnoustie, but it looks like it's just an everyday golf. That's what you get with an Open Championship for the most part. If it's decent conditions, no rain, no wind, they can attack golf courses like that. A U.S. Open is a little less simple to just attack under any conditions because the rough is so long, the fairways are narrower, the green speeds are quicker. And then you bring into account the golf course that they're playing. Some golf courses are already challenging enough as it is, and Oakmont is one of those golf courses. So I think some people like to watch the best players in the world struggle. And I'm one of them. And it's not a struggle in the sense that when we as normal golfers go out and play our rounds of golf and we struggle, and we get into trouble, we have a hard time getting out of the rough, we get into the lips of bunkers and stuff, and we struggle, and that is like maybe not our norm, but it's kind of like somewhere between our norm and a bad day. This is how we react to it, so we want to see how do the best players in the world react to playing golf in a situation that is not the most ideal situation for them. And I'm not, this is one thing I want to qualify. I'm not saying that a golfer's true colors really shine through, because the way that they react to how they play under these conditions is not necessarily showing their true colors.
No, it's just putting them in a highly stressful, more tense situation where they're enduring tests where they're not used to. So, their mental fortitude shows up. And again, that's part of the skill of golf.
Yes, it is.
It is that ability, not physically just to hit shots. It's to, keep your temper, keep your patience, keep your focus. And that's what major championships should be all about, is testing the complete golfer, all their skills. So yeah, you're right. It's not about just, okay, let's throw mayhem at them and just make it virtually impossible, because it wasn't virtually impossible, because obviously, somebody still won.
Yeah.
And
somebody shot 66, somebody shot 65. Right.
If you look at the overall score, because obviously we look at it relative to par, the total score wasn't that far off of what won at Augusta National this year. So the thing is just where it, how it plays out and what the tests are totally different. And again, we get to see players definitely squeezed. Let's say that. They put them into a vice, and it squeezes every little aspect of their game. And, they've got to do everything right in order to get to the top of that leaderboard.
Well, here's the thing. I was watching a USGA commercial during the thing, and you saw the same one, I'm sure, where the commercial was that their goal was not to embarrass the best players in the world. Their goal with the U.S. Open is to identify them. And I think that this is such a great slogan. So does JJ Spaun winning the U.S. Open mean that he's the best player in the world? No. Does it mean he's one of the best players in the world?
Sure.
Maybe, but he's the best player that week. And what it does is it identifies somebody look at the way the guy played. He was unflappable. There was no change in his emotion until he made that putt on 18, when I really, really saw a hint of a fist pump out of the guy. He was robotic in the sense that his demeanor was calm the whole week. And even when he started out with
five bogeys in the first 6 holes.
Come on. Right there, you're thinking, most people are thinking, toast. I'm done.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, I'm looking at the leaderboard and realizing I'm still only 1 or 2 back, and guys are backing up, and the course conditions are getting worse. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. He got, on Saturday, a lot of fortunate breaks in the rough, and on Sunday, he didn't get them early on. He got poor breaks in the rough, where the way the ball was lying, the way it landed. That's part of the U.S. Open.
Right. And it's not really the breaks, it's how you react to them. Right.
Yes.
It's totally anything. And I mean, we've all had situations where we've gone out and had a rough hole, and it really, how you react to it is totally, you know, in the end, that's what matters. And he had received some good advice about it. But I mean, if you go back and look at the greatest player to win for majors, I mean, Nicholas was all about attrition, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, let's just keep playing, and all the other people will fall away. Well, that was exactly what Spaun did. He just kept playing and let other people fall away. Now, he had to birdie the last two holes. I mean, obviously that was spectacular for him to birdie the last two holes to do it. So it's not like it was handed to him by him just
No, not
hanging
at all.
about.
He doesn't make those
Uh,
two birdies, he doesn't win.
Correct, exactly. So, Robert McIntyre is now your US Open champion. But, again, he was the same type of example. You just sort of kept on going. And, I guess for a lot of the other players, even the ones that people were looking to, they have to look within themselves of how they reacted to the situation, to the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love Rory, but his reaction to it, obviously, he would probably admit that mentally he probably wasn't as prepared as he probably could. It's those situations of those players that really affect their outcomes more than anything.
Something's up with him. I
Well,
don't know
yeah,
what it.
now
I don't
he's
know what it
gone
is. I
home
know
now, but
people are
yeah,
speculating on the whole, what they want to say about him winning the Masters and then basically just letting the air out of the balloon. And maybe that's true. Maybe he just doesn't care anymore and needs
yeah,
to
I don't know about that.
find his way. But I mean, I will say, Tiger Woods was never motivated solely by achieving one aspect of a goal.
Yeah,
He was
I
motivated by winning. So I don't think
yeah,
I think there's
no,
more going on there. I don't know what it is, and that's fine.
yeah,
I just like to see him not do some of the stupid things that he's doing, like what he throw in your club. Fine, guys throw your club all the time. I know nobody wants to see it, but whatever, it
yeah,
happens. Doing what
sure,
he did by betting, whacking off the tee marker. You and I
yeah,
both know if he was playing in my tournament and he knocked off one of my tee markers like that, I'd be
not
stringing him
cool.
up. Like
Yeah,
there's no reason, and that's unacceptable. No matter how angry you are, bang it on
yeah,
the ground, break your club, whatever, but don't do
sure,
that.
yeah.
And I
Don't
don't know what
disrespect
happened
other.
in the clubhouse. I don't even want to. I don't even. There's a lot of pictures about the locker room. I don't really know all the details, so I'm not going to.
Well, Wyndham
That
Clark
was
was
Wyndham Clark, but
yeah, but
again,
here's the thing.
if that's true, what
Yeah,
happened, then that's unacceptable too.
yeah, I think it's just conduct as a professional, or whatever. I mean, look, they're human. They get into a funk. He's obviously into a bit of a funk. He's going to take the time to kind of flying home to to Northern Ireland or whatever, and spend some time there and do some different things or whatever. And maybe that's what he needs. We don't know what's going on in his life or whatever, but
No,
obviously, what happens in people's lives plays out what we see sometimes on a a professional field
for
as
sure,
well. Doesn't
for
matter
sure.
the sport or whatever. So do we want to see it? No, but it also means that
They're human.
you're not fully focused and prepared to do everything that particular week, right? And
Hmm.
that's what it amounts to. And maybe JJ Spaun was just he obviously showed that calm, that resilience, and in despite the fact that one of his kids was sick Saturday night and he had a whole bunch of other stuff going on, maybe it just like, okay,
Yeah,
fine, it doesn't really matter, let's just go. But to keep yourself together on that under that level of pressure, is one, it's got to be immense. And we're talking about a guy here that was back. I remember I have his autograph in my garage when he was the
yeah.
2015 winner on the Canadian Tour as far as the Order of Merit. But the literally the year before he had made only like $875 on the tour. So I
Crazy.
mean, you got to have a lot of patience to play this game, and obviously when these conditions are you're faced with, not every player showed those for sure.
No.
But I'll give credit to a couple things. I mean, there's a lot of people that talked about Sam Burns and the drop and stuff like that. I will say this: his when what he said afterwards was great. He's like, asked for one, asked for a second opinion, didn't get what I wanted. Fine, get on with the shot.
Hmm.
It's only everyone else that was making some more out of it. So I'll give him credit for not that he didn't have some reactions and stuff during the week, but players are going to get frustrated. I mean,
But that's the
again,
thing, is the difference between the reaction of Burns versus the reaction of some other players
Like
in their
Tyrrell.
interviews.
Yeah.
Well, look at Tyrrell here's the thing with Tyrrell Hatton. Tyrrell Hatton is probably like as far as when you talk about golf being the 6 inches between your ears.
Yeah.
The 6 inches between Tyrrell Hatton's ears has to be just like a bar fight all the time. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, because he is
A bar fight. I like it.
he's not the kind of guy I would want to be getting upset in a bar situation. But my point is, he is super hard on every aspect of his game from the moment he hits his first shot. It's not even 6 holes in when things aren't going well. He hit a bad shot on the very first hole, whether I think it was a bad putt or something, and he was already questioning what's wrong with my putter? I hit it right on my line. He's constantly thinking that he hit the perfect shot and it didn't go where he wanted it to go. And it's like, and that has got to play into your brain throughout the course of the round, thinking that you hit it perfect and ended up going somewhere you didn't want it to go. Well, the reality is you didn't hit it perfect on every single one of those occasions. It's you're trying to blame it on something else because you don't want to accept the blame yourself. And maybe that's why, and maybe that's how he copes with when he plays bad, is he shoves the blame over here and blames it on the turf. He blames it on the wind. He blames it on the this and that, so that he deflects the blame off of himself, who's the one. Maybe that's how he copes. I don't know.
Possibly. I don't know.
But something, to blame your lie on a shot that you hit like 5-10 yards right of the green and blame that lie on bad luck. It's not bad luck if you hit it there. It's unfortunate.
Yes.
And at a U.S. Open, it's more unfortunate. And then to go across the bunker into the bank on the other side is even more unfortunate.
Yeah.
But you did it. Like you hit it there, and then you hit it there, and then you hit it there. Like that's on you. That's your fault. But Tyrrell is a animated guy.
Very much so.
And
I like him though.
Fun to watch.
I had I said this to you. I had a conversation with a couple years ago. Did an interview at an event, and we had a great discussion about his start in golf and playing the minor tours and stuff in England and so forth and all the way up. And hey, he was joyful. We had a great conversation. He was super nice guy, but it didn't mean that he couldn't snap at any moment when a putt goes sideways or whatever. But anyways, in the end, I think when we look at what Spaun did, especially on those last 2 holes, that drive on 17, the drive hole par 4, and he just cut that in beautifully. And he was doing such a good job of that all week, managing his game off the tee in order to hit as many fairways as possible and put themselves in a good situation to at least be able to help control the golf ball. The fact that he did that, and he's been playing, he's been brewing all year, right? Lost the playoff to Rory at the Players Championship, had a couple other top threes during the year. He's certainly been trending for sure. You don't expect that to show up at a U.S. Open. You're thinking, he'd win a Travelers or whatever. But again, his game is perfect for the style of what you need to do. He applied the skills that he needed to win the championship.
So slow and steady wins the race, and this is the tortoise and the hare scenario with golf. There isn't anybody that sort of brains seem to move slower. Body language, everything just seemed very calm and relaxed all weekend, no matter how bad it got at times. And he just seemed to be one level. And a lot of players weren't capable of doing that. You're right, and he did that. And I think it was great, viewing it on Sunday and seeing the leaderboard so tight and not sure what was going to happen. I think that's the best part about it. It wasn't a case of like I was a little bit disappointed. Kind of Saturday-ish a little bit when all of a sudden, Burns and they had sort of separated themselves by a couple of strokes. And I was like, okay, I want this to kind of be closer. And man, it got that way in a hurry on Sunday. And as a result, you were sitting on the edge of your chair going, okay, what's going to happen? And that's the joy of the US Open. And to the point of even, you had players like,
Scotty was out early, and you're thinking, oh man, he's only a few back. You just never know what he could do, right?
Just couldn't make a putt.
Just couldn't make a putt.
Yep.
And again, you've got to have a complete game, the week of the majors, the time. And, it's not to say that all these players are not the most skilled players in the world. It's just when can you do it when you need it to?
Yeah.
When you need to, right? And against a test like Oakmont, I think Oakmont just delivers. And I mean, I think it continues to deliver. And I think, people will be excited to see it go back there in 2030.
Yeah.
What is it? 20? No.
I want to say 20, it's 2030 or 20.
Yeah, it's 20. It's in the 30s. So yeah, so they'll be excited to see it go back there for sure, because it's going to deliver something special for sure. And look, this is a life changer for JJ Spaun. I had a guy yesterday mention it to me, and they're like, "Hey, kind of what's that worth of JJ or Spaun as far as career?" I mean, dude's set. He's set for life.
Between exemptions and money and sponsorships, he's already got good equipment sponsor.
Yeah, he's at 34. He's 34 years old. I mean, he's got a lot of solid exemptions for the next 5 years, and he's basically he's cemented his career. So it can't be anything but happy for him.
No, it can't.
Any other storylines that you love there? I mean, McIntyre in there. I was
excited. That was kind of cool. I mean, it seemed kind of out of nowhere a little bit, even though if you looked at the leaderboard, he was kind of there. It just, he had a decent day, and everybody ahead of him kind of dropped back a little bit. I thought it was very unfortunate, Burns' situation, because I think if he gets the drop that he's looking for, then maybe he's right there at the end. Instead of turning that into a 2 or 3 shot swing hole, which is what it ended up being. I mean, it's like Hatton hitting it on the, you hit it there. It's in the fairway. You shouldn't be penalized for hitting it in the fairway. It looked to me from my perspective that there was it wasn't so much his feet in casual water, but the ball,
which doesn't matter. It's about your feet, right? So that's the rule. So.
I mean, but he had 2 opinions, and like you said, he got 2 opinions. He didn't get the answer he was looking for. He played the shot. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. So,
I'm sure afterwards he's like, "Yeah, I should just hit it on the high side of the fairway next time. Don't hit it on the low side."
There's that too. I mean, if you can control that, then maybe he should have done that. He doesn't know. Of course, Scheffler couldn't make a putt on Sunday to save his life, but he stayed right in. He was there, a couple putts here and there, and he's right there.
And we talked about that in the preview. We said that was the thing that we worried us, is like, could Scheffler putt? I mean, obviously he's got the ball striking down, but what could he do?
And he struggled. I mean,
64-footer to close it out. I mean, did you? Awesome.
I mean, I didn't expect it to go in, but I figured when I said Trish was sitting there with me, my wife was watching it, and when Hovland hit it outside of him. I knew he was going to 2-putt.
Yeah, actually,
as soon as he had, because these guys are too good. If you give them the line and the speed, he's not going to 3-putt unless his nerves get the best of him and he just doesn't hit it hard enough or hits it too hard.
I got a text immediately from Derek McDonald, the director of instruction at Royal Ottawa, and he's like, "Oh, he's got the line. Hovland giving him the line. I'm not going to be shocked if he makes it." And lo and behold, he did. So I mean,
was awesome. So again, I was excited. That was cool.
A 1%.
And you saw Tyrrell Hatton's reaction to that.
Oh, yeah.
And you saw McIntyre's reaction to it. Like, how can you not, like, as a competitor, the guy drops it like that. It's like, how do you not just go, damn? Like,
that you got to respect it. You really do. I mean, the fact that he did it, in style that way and for a walk off. I mean, there was probably, it was a 1% putt. To make, there was a higher odds that he was going to 3-putt than 1%, than make the putt. So, I was fully expecting we were going to possibly see a playoff. Now, I will say they have yet to use the new playoff format with the 2-hole aggregate.
Don't like that. That is,
I'd still like to see an 18-hole playoff on Monday. I really would.
Well, that's the tradition, right? That whole thing when Rocco and Tiger did that.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing 18-hole playoff that went to extra holes.
Yeah.
So exactly. That was, what is that, 2008?
Yeah, correct. I would still like to see,
Yeah, I agree.
If they want to make it as big as it is, then, and I understand the logistics and issues and stuff like that. But hey, you know what? Everybody's
2 holes. I mean, 2 holes.
No,
Where
in
do
the
you even
aggregate.
come up? Where do you even come up with that?
Yeah, I
The
know.
Open Championship was 3 holes.
Yeah, I
It was a
think it's
3 hole aggregate, and
yeah, yeah,
that seemed more realistic, sort of a 16, 17, 18 kind of deal.
yeah,
2 holes?
yeah,
Seems
yeah.
kind of
No,
non-dramatic.
I think you know what. Here's the thing: if you want to win a U.S. Open, you will stick around.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no big deal.
All
So,
right. Well, we'd love
all
to
right,
continue bantering on about the U.S. Open forever
sure.
because it is that exciting. But we move on
Yep.
now to the Open Championship in a month, and that'll be
Yes.
the next big thing we talk about. So, but for now, we're going to take a break. And when we come
Yep.
back, we're going to talk about the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, and we're going to talk about footwear. So stay with us. You're listening and watching the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. We will be right back.
Unlock more forgiveness. Unlock more accuracy. Unlock more distance from more of the face. Introducing the new QI35 from TaylorMade.
All right. Well, welcome back to the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Potter and Roller Coaster McLeod. Wait, sorry, he just told me that he played golf on Sunday and he was 1 under after 7
Yeah.
with a triple
Yeah.
in there, and then asked me to do the math. I'm trying to do the math. I'm just like the math is mathing, but I'm not happy about the math that I'm mathing right now.
Hey,
It's
golf,
just,
man. You gotta face adversity and keep on trucking. So.
you do indeed. You do indeed.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to our back nine presented this
All
week
right.
by Falcon Ridge Golf Club. With 27 holes of challenging golf at great rates, Falcon Ridge is a golfing experience you cannot avoid. Don't forget, too, that Falcon Ridge has built the first TrackMan range facility in Eastern Ontario. TrackMan Range is all about exciting, easy-to-use features that provide the ultimate range experience for every golfer at every level. That's practice, games, and virtual golf. To book tee times or to book one of the 10 TrackMan range bays, visit falconridgegolf.ca. Okay.
Yeah.
Onward and upward we go. U.S.
More
Open
majors.
in our rearview mirror, and now we start talking LPGA and the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, which is about to get going this week at Fields Ranch East at PGA Frisco in Frisco, Texas.
Yeah.
Frisco. It's the first time that it's been here.
Yep. Not
At
sure what
this particular
to
venue.
not sure what to make of it, but as far as the golf course, Gil Hands, who seems to be everywhere these days.
Yes.
I'm gonna look. I haven't seen the course set up yet. Obviously, they can stretch this golf course out to a long, long way. A future venue for the PGA Championship for the men. But we'll see what the setup is like for the women. Should be dry. Should be golf ball bouncing all over the place down there. So that should make it interesting. That's for sure.
So Brooke Henderson obviously in the field. Savannah Gruel also in the field this week.
Yeah.
And Brooks finding a little bit of a game, some form. I've seen so much variety of comment about her and how she's the inconsistency and she needs. I even heard a comment that she needs someone different caddying for her, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
I've heard lots.
There's lots of
that.
there's lots of those that say what they say, not knowing things that maybe other people know.
Sure.
And golfers go through this. I mean, it happens. Great golfers go through hiccups in their game where things just are not clicking, and they're looking for something. Now, should Brooke seek out some help from a different swing coach to see if that helps? Maybe she should get some putting help from somebody who's a short game specialist. Maybe. But there's no guarantee that doing any of that stuff is actually going to accomplish anything either. So it's like, do you do it? Do you not do it? Are you content with just the way you've been doing things to figure it all out? Or do you really need to seek, desperation and start working with somebody else? I don't know.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call that desperation. I think the thing that we do know is that, obviously at this point right now, she's at her lowest point as far as world rankings ever. She's down in close to the 50 range right now, which, she's in the high 40s. Up until this year, she had never been below 22nd in her entire career, which, is phenomenal when you think about that. That's 2015 to, 2024. Yes, it's obviously natural to question things, and I'm sure she is too. I mean, she, missing, more cuts than she's used to. She obviously has to sort of question, kind of maybe where she's at with her game. She probably has the answers more than we do as far as, maybe why or why not she's playing well. But as you said, she's had two top 20 finishes in the last 2 weeks. She's definitely trending after missing a couple of cuts. What is the issue? That, look, I haven't broken it down, so I don't particularly know what she's doing better or worse kind of at this time. That would take a pretty deep dive. And unfortunately, we don't really have full statistics with the LPGA Tour to really break down things as much as we possibly could to make a fair assessment there. So, the thing is that we know is that, she's obviously playing a little bit better now. We'll see how that plays out for the rest of the year. And frankly, it's a tough circuit to actually gain on, because you got to remember, this is just not about how you're playing. It's about how the other players are playing as well. So when we look at things at rankings are just comparisons. So, if we have the other players playing well, it's hard to gain against other players that are playing well. So you're going to drop. And we know that, the women's game of golf is deeper than it ever has been before. We've got players like, Maya Sago won the Chevron, and Maya Stark just won the US Women's Open. We have a lot of one-time major winners, so that means we have a lot more players that are doing some things. So it should be an interesting this week. I mean, Nellie's not obviously been doing her best, but she's got a win here at this event in 2021, and she won a major last year as well. And so we'll see how she performs. And we've got 12 former champions in the field as well. So it's definitely going to be competitive for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with respect to Brooke, maybe there is something there that needs to be, needs to be addressed, needs to be tweaked, needs to be changed. And maybe it's time for a different voice on the swing. Not necessarily on the bag. I'm not saying that Brittany should let someone else step into the bag. That may happen soon enough. Who knows? I don't think that's the issue. I think that who's caddying for you isn't Brittany's. Brittany's good for Brooke, so that's not the issue. The issue is her the technical side, hitting shots. It's not reading putts or making decisions of what club to hit. It's actually hitting the shots that's getting her into trouble. So maybe that's an area that needs to be changed.
And look, and she has always struggled with the putter. She's always, I mean, look back when she played in their BCC Open, back when she was 16 years old. She would have won that event. This was held at the Brockville Country Club. She would have won that event hands down if she had putted decently that week, because she struck the ball so well, but she struggled with the putter, and it's been her bugaboo like her entire career, despite the fact that obviously she's won two majors and so many events on tour. I guess it's up to her. It's like if if she is displeased with the performance, that's the only thing that matters. It's not what we think, it's not what spectators think, it's not what fans think. It's up to her. And if she is displeased with it, then you know what? She'll probably do something about it. If she's not displeased with it, then she'll just keep on doing her thing. And guess what? You sit back and get to watch, and that's all I can say about that.
Exactly. Okay, so I myself am going to do a little deep diving on this golf course after the show is over.
Yeah, me too.
Because I'm very curious. I should have spent a little bit more time looking at it, but I was so caught up in what I wanted to talk about the U.S. Open.
Yeah, well, this is the facility the PGA of America has built in Frisco, Texas. So, again, it's sort of we'll call it, I would call it wide open, but it's definitely got some wide open elements to it. Yeah. We'll call it some linksy elements, but it's definitely got a fair number of bunkers and stuff as well. So with the way it is been down there as far as dry and stuff like that, I'm sure it's in a condition where players are really going to have to be very strategic as far as, predicting how the ball is going to bounce and so forth. Greens are particularly not super big, but, have some good slopes to them. So yeah, I think it's going to be worthy of a major test, or at least I hope it's going to be. And the fact is as well, with the support of KPMG, this is an event that, offers up 10.5 million for a purse, 1.5 million to the top players. So it's certainly, definitely going to be worthy to watch. And I think there's a lot of storylines there. I think a lot of people, have liked seeing some of the new major champions, but they also want they want to see some play out of their favorites as well, be it a Nelly or a Brooke or so forth. And then we also have one other Canadian in the field. Savannah Gruel is in the field. She hasn't played her best this year. I think she's made 4 cuts in 9 events, and she's missed her last 3 cuts. But, hopefully maybe this event will give her a little bit of a spark as well.
We will see. All right. Now we're just going to take a step sideways here. And
look at you.
Wow. And talk a little footwear.
Yeah.
So specifically talking footwear, it's not just a fashion thing.
Yeah. And I had this came up because I was just standing around a putting green and having a chat with some newer golfers, and one of the things they were talking about was their shoes and why they picked their shoes. And they were just, the one person had this kind of a funky pair of shoes on. They were kind of a little bit flashy or whatever. And again, they were sitting there going, yeah, I really like them because I like the look of them and so forth, which is fair. If they like the look of them, that's perfectly fine. But they never really thought about their footwear beyond just kind of walking in it. So they never realized that maybe it could be a part of their equipment, and that it could have an impact as far as how they play, and, didn't put a lot of thought into it. And, that's part of the education of a golfer. When you're coming new to the game, you don't know, why the reason, that they're there as far as, different types of footwear. We don't see, obviously, baseball athletes, track athletes, football athletes just go out in their sneakers and play on the field. They obviously have specialized equipment. And while some people are obviously playing golf on a more casual level and they just want to, look as sharp as they can when they go out there, if they're looking to perform, there's definitely some differences. So I guess it's just more talking about, the kind of the details, and especially for us, having come from the retail side of it a little bit, and knowing and asking those questions of people who go, okay, what are you looking for kind of in your footwear or whatever. So just kind of want to kind of go through some different points of it. Nothing too crazy here, but we've got some points we can talk about.
Well,
where do you want to start?
Okay, so I guess we can start with probably the biggest thing that your golf shoes have to provide you with, and probably if I were top fiving my points about what would be important for golf shoes and what would be most important for golf shoes and what would be least important for golf shoes. This one, stability and traction, is probably the single biggest thing that I would say is important. Sure. And then for me, anyway, the other points afterwards drop off, pretty significantly when it compares to stability and traction. Ultimately, you're like any footwear that you wear, whether it's for walking long distances, whether it's for climbing mountains, if you're into that kind of thing, even hockey skates. Sure. Stability is like your base. That's where it all starts from. So if your shoes are skinny, the sole of the shoe is very narrow, the boot of the shoe is very soft and weak and floppy, then you're probably going to struggle with providing yourself with a stable base to swing, to turn into to turn into one side and to push off and to plant. I mean, there's parts of the golf swing. So I would say that for me is like the number one most important thing is the stability and traction.
I mean, we're working against the ground. I mean, we're doing what we do with our body, but we're working against the ground as far as resistance. If we don't have resistance, we're in trouble. I mean, if you step out onto the ice and you don't have you have street shoes on, where do you end up? You end up on your, yeah, exactly. So I mean,
we can say ass, but
yeah, but people just don't think about that as far as the ground, especially in the springtime. I mean, we just came off a very wet spring, and there's people that said, "Man, I really struggled," and so forth. Well, if the ground is soft, and you're slipping, it's difficult. It can be the same way as well when the ground gets super firm. You can have a lack of friction that's there as well. But how you sort of mitigate that is in your footwear. So a lot of people nowadays are looking at their shoes and they pick out a casual shoe and they're like, oh, I like that, versus something that has soft spikes in it. We call that spike now, but it's not like old school metal spikes or whatever. Yeah. But it's proven. I mean, I've spent time at FootJoy where they have the toy box, their laboratory that's in there, and you're looking at the comparisons of just a casual shoe versus a spiked shoe and how it grips the ground. And if you don't have any resistance as far as gripping the ground, well, guess what? You're going to be kind of all over the place. And especially, that's just creating power, let alone where you are relative to the golf ball. If all of a sudden you slip and slide and you're further back away from the golf ball, one side or the other or whatever, well, that's going to change where your golf club enters the ground. So there's definitely some issues there. So we're seeing, manufacturers obviously spend a lot of time on this now. They look at that from a performance standpoint. We see the tour players making choices from a performance standpoint. So I think people just have to consider their footwear a little bit more as part of their equipment, as I mentioned, and realize that stability is important. And each person is going to move a little bit differently. So they have to realize that for some people, very active feet, they're going to need something that's, get a little bit more traction versus other people, maybe, if they don't care about the results or they don't have as much movement to their golf swing, it probably doesn't quite matter as much. So,
well, no. And it's funny. I was in Golf Town, just locally here, last week, maybe. And I was looking for not a pair of shoes for me. I have, if you've ever seen my office, I have more than enough shoes
Same.
to last a lifetime, and new ones do pop up from time to time, and I do buy shoes. I see deals on shoes. I was at the Adidas warehouse out at Tanger Outlets there the other day, and they had
I was at the Adidas one the other week, and I bought
75% off or something like that, but no return kind of thing. And I grabbed a pair of Adidas golf shoes because I felt like I wanted a new pair of shoes.
Sure, why not?
I really don't need them.
Yeah, I hear you.
I've got a new pair of Asics golf shoes coming. Great shoe. But I was in Golf Town, and just you look at the wall of shoes, and I'm just saying, this is where you hear it's a preference thing, and it's with golf shoes. I think here's the thing: do not buy your golf shoes based on what you feel or believe is the best golf shoe out there. Okay, right. So if you've been hearing your whole life, oh, well, a brand X, that's the that's the number one shoe. That's the number one shoe. You got to have that shoe. Baloney, BS, and all of that. It ain't the number one shoe for you.
Right.
Okay, so that's the point. It might be the number one shoe on the tour. It might be the number one shoe amongst PGA professionals, but it isn't the number one shoe for you until you put it on your foot. And then after you've tried a bunch of different shoes on your feet, comfort is... Like, think about this. We used to talk about this. You are wearing this shoe out walking around a golf course for 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
Hopefully under 5 hours, but 4 to 5 hours. And you're moving in it. You're swinging in it. You're walking in it. You're sitting on a bench with them on your feet. If those things are not comfortable, then you're in a whole heap of trouble. So comfort has to be like a top priority. So when I said about stability and traction, balance is in there too. The very next one on the list is comfort. So, but the very first one on that list for fitting your shoe has to be comfort. So it has to feel good on your foot, even if it has the best stability and the best traction of any golf shoe on the market. If
Mhm.
it doesn't feel right on your foot, if it doesn't fit your foot right and it's going to be uncomfortable, then you can't wear that shoe because you're
No,
going to have problems. You can't fit into a shoe. Like
no,
they
no, no,
do
no.
stretch out. If
And
they're leather, they do stretch out a little bit and
yeah,
stuff like
but
that. You hear that all the time, but it's got to feel good on your foot.
yeah, and nowadays, I mean, from a fit perspective, because of the way they're built, they've got particular lasts and different shapes and so forth. Whatever, it should fit right away. I mean, that's the thing. If it feels any bit of discomfort immediately
Hmm.
when you put it on your foot, forget it, gone.
Yeah,
It's just not gonna,
yeah. Slum it
because as you
aside.
said, you got 10,000 steps ahead of you,
Oh,
that you're going to have to do on top of the actual swings itself. So super important. I think when people look at that shoe wall, they have to realize that you're spending $5,000 on a set of clubs nowadays as far as high-end premium
spend the money
equipment.
on the shoes.
Spend the money on the shoes because they are a piece of equipment that you are using on every single shot and in between. No other piece of equipment are you using in between.
Hmm.
Whether a golf ball, you might use it on every single shot, but you're not using it technically for all the 4 hours or four and a
Yeah,
half hours, whereas
yeah.
the golf shoe you're going to have on. So invest in that to do. And if you find a model that is really fits for you, get multiples if you can,
Yeah,
because
especially if you're old, if you're older like me,
yeah,
your feet aren't growing.
no,
You're the same size, yeah, if you lose a little weight, gain a little weight, they might
yeah,
get a little thicker.
yeah,
But get a couple pairs of shoes.
yeah,
And you know, the other thing you gotta take into account is like when you're spending the money on the shoes, spend the money on a pair of shoes that are waterproof.
yes,
Okay, not don't go spending $39.99 on a pair of golf shoes because you're trying to save some bucks. They're not waterproof. It's not the rain.
no,
It's
it's a
it's the wet
ground,
grass, the
yeah,
dew,
yeah, yeah,
they will
yeah,
get wet and they will
yeah,
absorb the water, and then the next thing you know, your shoes are destroyed because they'll start separating from the soles, and
yeah,
just spend the money on the
yeah.
shoe. If you want to
You'll see.
save money on how you look on a golf course, save money on your shorts and your golf shirt. I
Yeah,
know where you can, if you really want to save some money. Walmart has some really good golf shirts. I mean, trust me, I know. Um, Save some money there. Don't try to scrimp and save on the stuff on your feet.
yeah. I mean, people will get kind of designs that are, we'll call them summer shoes, that are for a dry day or so forth, but it's rare that you're going to have those. I mean, that's the thing, right? So
Yeah,
so yeah, you end up with people that buy a shoe, it's more of a summer style shoe or whatever, lower price. I get it, economics as they are, but chances are they're not going to last. And as you said, if you get something that's waterproof, it's going to last much longer. So the
yeah,
thing is like, why have to rebuy and be uncomfortable a few times rather than have a good pair and treat them well? I mean, that's
yeah.
the other side of it. It's funny. I did a post just before our spring open for the flagstick.com PGA of Ottawa tour. And I actually had my FootJoy kit and I was like cleaning the shoes and stuff like that or whatever like that. You can actually wash your shoes and clean them and take care of them. They will last much longer. Don't think that all of a sudden because they're dirty they're
Yeah.
dead. So but yes, comfort obviously super important. Like you said, that protection from the elements super important. And it's making a little bit that that investment, um you know because water resistant versus waterproof.
Yeah, big difference.
Waterproof, they're getting better with a few different things, but good waterproof shoes are not like they used to be. They're not hot and sweaty, and they have breathability. They keep out water, and the technology is getting great. Comfort level as well. I mean, manufacturers are doing a lot more now in their shoes with the types of midsole cushioning. They have almost every single manufacturer uses some sort of proprietary foams for shock absorption, energy return. We see technologies. I mean, you mentioned the Asics shoes. We see technologies that they take from their Asics court shoes and they bring it
Yes.
over to the golf. We see that for other manufacturers as well. I mean, it's not like they're just like slapping something together and throwing their name on it. There's
No.
actual technology that goes into it,
Yep.
and believe me, it pays off when you're on the golf course.
Yep. No, 100%. So here's another debate
Sure.
as we kind of let's move through this. But So you see a lot of this spiked versus spikeless. Now, spiked nowadays is soft spiked. It's not spiked.
Yep.
As much as I'd love to have a good pair of spiked shoes,
There's nothing better than that sound.
that
There really
walking
isn't.
across the cart path or
Oh
the
yeah.
stones just click, click,
Yeah.
click, click,
Not
click.
tearing up the clubhouses because people hated that.
Yeah.
Right? So
But soft spiked shoes, traditional, versus the modern area of spikeless shoes.
yeah.
And there's a lot of good ones. What the manufacturers are doing now is building their spikeless in the sense
Mhm.
that the spikes don't, you can't change the
Right.
soft, so you can't take them out and put new ones in. They're built into the soles of the shoe, different spike patterns and things like that to help create that sort of spiked effect, but not.
Right. Yes.
And that's changed so much too. Of it's not a spikeless shoe is not a flat bottom shoe with a bunch of little rubber nibs on it. There's a whole lot of to it. So the question is, which is better? Like, I mean, clearly, obviously, a spiked shoe has more traction in different terrains.
I guess it depends for the golfer what they're trying to do as well. I mean, some people want to, slap on a shoe. Like I've got a couple different pairs of shoes that are spikeless that, have integrated patterns. They have sort of we'll call it a spiked pattern, but it's on the bottom, but you wouldn't tell. And when you put them on, you can wear them as regular shoes. So there's a lot of people now that are like throwing them on at the office, go to the golf course and then just go out and play.
Yep.
And that's perfectly fine. It suits your needs. What we just have to think about, as I said, is just, sometimes there might be a compromise for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're better as far as from walking. Maybe they're more comfortable. You don't feel the soft spike kind of poking up and so forth. That's your choice. The issue is that it's like, okay, they're better obviously on a drier day. If you get wet, muddy, maybe the course is really hilly and stuff like that, you're going to need a little bit more traction that way. But yeah, if you're going for ones that are, you can, because there's a lot of people, even with their clothing now, golf clothing doesn't necessarily look like golf clothing anymore.
No.
In a lot of cases, it's like, okay, it's not the golf uniform. So maybe they want to just basically, not have to change out. They don't have a locker. They're just like going from the golf course, jump into the car, drive back home. So, there's definitely a place for them. Mm-hmm. I'm certainly not saying, but maybe it's for a more casual golfer or somebody that's playing in a drier condition. So I wouldn't say it's a case of one is right and one is wrong. I think it just depends on your particular needs more than anything.
No, I would totally agree with that. I have a little bit of both. I also,
same.
My go-to shoe, honestly, for my my evening nines or my evening sixes, whatever I happen to be squeezing in, I actually have a pair of Adidas court shoes. And we remember the tournament, I think it was one of our Flagstick Opens.
Oh, the Addy Cross ones?
Yeah, the Addy Cross. They're not they're not really a golf shoe. They're just a casual court shoe kind of deal.
Yeah.
Flat bottom on them. They're not like it goes against what we've just been talking about, but that's my go-to where because they're so comfortable and I just slip. And now if it's raining out, that's not my go-to shoe because we talk about stability wise. Yeah, nice big flat bottom on lots of stability. Traction wise, nuh-uh. Slipping all over the place. So that's when I'll go to my spiked shoe.
Yeah, and that's a point that you bring up as well. And I'm going to do some testing here in the next little while. There's a couple different shoes. When you talk about stability and flat bottom and even how the foot spreads out, there's a couple of manufacturers now that are, creating models that, it's not more for fit, because a lot of people obviously want a 4 foot that's maybe a little bit wider, like a wider box on the shoe or whatever. Some people basically want that not for the sake of just from a fit. It's so their foot can spread out and basically have a little bit more grip to the ground. So there's manufacturers like Squares, for an example, that are, they've focused a lot on that. And a few other manufacturers have done that as well, is they're trying to get it so when your when your foot gets into the shoe, there's comfort and stability at the top, but when it's inside, your foot can spread out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And when it goes back to it, we talk about that fit's really important as far as the difference in the fit system. Like for me, I have a fairly narrow foot. So I struggle with, I'm always tying my shoes all the time. So, because the thing is that, if they're too wide at the top, if I get a certain style, at the top and they're too wide, then the laces are coming undone kind of all the time because it's a little bit loose on the top or whatever. So, you mentioned Asics. I have a pair of Asics with BOA, and I like them.
I like the BOA.
Yeah, it's just and for people that are not familiar with it, it's a dial lacing system that basically uses a metal wire, and you basically use a dial and you crank it down. It's available in lots of different things now, but versus traditional laces, slightly different. For some people, it's better from a fit perspective on the top of their foot as well. And man, when we're in retail, we used to spend a lot of time on fit for shoes. Like it was a long time. People come in, I'm looking for a shoe, and they'd come in and, like you said, they'd look on the wall and they're like, "Oh, I want that one because it's X." And you're like, "Yeah, that's maybe not that great for you." And once they get it on their feet, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a little too wide at the top. They're too high for me as far as the feel. They feel like I don't like, the feel underneath the sole. Maybe they don't feel stable." There's lots of different things there. So it is a blend of a lot of different things when you're choosing. So playing conditions are important. Do you walk? Do you ride? What's your swing like? There's a lot of different things that go into it. So, the thing over anything else, and budget too. Obviously there's some cost perspective, but I think the biggest thing overall is people have to realize is that they just need to spend a little bit more time and focus on their golf shoes when they're purchasing them and thinking long term, right? It's not just I'm popping into the Nike store and here's a fashion choice. Oh, I like the look of those. There's a lot more to it because we are doing an activity in it. So maybe think that out a little bit more. And if you've got questions and stuff on that, you can always DM us as well. We'd be happy to help you.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, there are so many different varieties and so many of styles and colors and stuff to golf shoes nowadays. If you are looking to kind of buy your golf shoes based on a fashion thing, you're probably still going to be able to do that. You're just not. Maybe you can't buy the brand or the style that you want because it doesn't really fit you the way it should. But you're going to be able to find, if you want a white shoe with a black saddle or a stripes on the side, you're going to be able to find that shoe.
Sure.
There's so
and
many.
There's a lot more. Yeah, and there's a lot more custom programs now within manufacturers, that offer opportunities to kind of, make it your look and style or whatever. So, you don't have to necessarily compromise, but you may have to just take a little bit more time to do it as opposed to just jumping in and kind of pulling it off the shelf. Yeah. And there's emerging brands as well. You have to realize that there's more and more brands that are, that are getting into the market all the time. Brooks sponsor, for an example, Skechers, they're really diving into the market. Asics, as you mentioned, they're definitely getting some market share gain. Even companies like, Puma that, they're getting a little bit more market share as well. So it's a very competitive market that's out there. You just have to kind of make sure that you take some time and find something you like and stick with it.
Well, and that's good for the consumer too. Having a little bit more competitiveness in the marketplace is good for the consumer. I'm not necessarily saying it brings the price of things down nowadays.
No,
that's not always possible, but it brings the selection up. And that's what's probably more important to consumers when it comes to this type of a product. Having some selection, some varieties that you can find what you're looking for in a size that fits you, and a shoe that fits the way you want it to fit. So there you go. That's our words of wisdom when it comes to golf footwear. Just a little bit of words of wisdom from these two guys. Take it for what it's worth, and reach out to us if you want to. And we
know it's not the most exciting topic, but
no, it's not.
Again, but it's it's something that again, people have questions about, so we address them.
We do indeed. Okay, well, that's going to be it for us, I think, for this week. Next week, of course, we'll wrap up the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, and we'll start to get talking about the Open Championship soon too. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But that's it for us for this week. A reminder: Flagstick.com shootout coming up. We still have space available in it. It's a little over half full right now. Need you to don't wait. You got to get into this now. It's coming up on July 12th and 13th at Smuggler's Glen Golf Course. So
which is
you got to get in shape. Yeah, and so we need to get registered for that now. We got some straggling registrations coming in here and there, but we need to get those filled up so we can get stuff ordered before too long. Okay, that's it for us. Thanks to our sponsors: Metcalf Golf Club, Falcon Ridge Golf Club, and Driving Range. And our presenting sponsor this week, TaylorMade Golf, introducing the all-new QI35 drivers, TaylorMade speed, max forgiveness, and a new level of fitting to give you more distance from more of the face. Get QI35 fit today and unlock another level for your game at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. We know you're enjoying watching, hearing, listening what we're saying. Be sure to follow us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, Facebook, and TikTok. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And do not forget our YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode of what we're doing here. Get over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every day, and be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, Flagstick Digest. It's free, it's 3 times a week, and it's got lots of great stuff in it that will keep you informed. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I'm Jeff Potter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Remember, always go for the stick.